that it's, you know, it's not all hype. This deck is the real deal, and this deck can beat you before you even, you know, before you even blink, right? Before you know it, all of a sudden you're down a few prizes, and all they need is a tag team knockout to take their final 4 prizes. And that's really the beauty of this Arceus Dialga and Palkia deck that's come out of Cosmic Eclipse.
And I think it's not really like a bold call to be choosing to play this deck for the tournament. I know whenever it's a brand new archetype, there's kind of that question mark. Have I had enough testing with the archetype? Do I know it's actually good enough to compete with the old stuff that was previously very strong? But when you just look at the card in general, you're saying, taking extra prize cards, that can never be bad. And I have energy acceleration forever. That can never be bad either. So, yeah, I mean...
And it's at the low cost of 2 energies. You can with like End's Resolve, you can do it on turn 1.
Exactly, exactly. So, it's just a very intuitive list. It kind of like builds itself around like 50 or so of the cards, and then it's just down to the players to make sure those last 10 are teched correctly. We've seen a handful of different techs in a wide array of these Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga decks. Fabio is actually playing quite an interesting list in his own right. He's playing a Ditto and a few Stage 1 evolution lines. He's playing Zebstrika, and he's also playing a Frostlass, definitely a tech card for some Charizard-based players out there. So those are some interesting decisions. Ooh, 2 Mallow and Lana in the prize cards. That's a huge mirror match tech.
Mallow and Lana is a really important card in this matchup, in particular because your damage output is not the highest, and you can definitely kind of lift and tell the tale if you have a Mallow and Lana to help you kind of shake away some of this damage. So if you don't have these Mallow and Lanas early on, you may actually end up falling behind on the prize race. But we do start here with Giovanni Peragallo starting off the game, going first. Dedenne as the active Pokemon. Never want to see that, but of course we do have a Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia start to get powered up on the bench. Of course, a choice element, not exactly the most relevant, but just kind of want to get that out of your hand and get that on the field onto Dedenne. Now, Fabio does take his first turn as, honestly, Giovanni really didn't have very much of anything going for him on turn 1, and we see Fabio play the first supporter of the game here on that Cynthia, but we already have a Water Energy on this Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia on his own bench, and a Keldeo to kind of accompany it.
Yeah, you're definitely right there. I think Giovanni actually had a really squeaky turn 1. It was all in on a Cynthia and Caitlyn, and off those draws he was able to find that Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga, fortunately for him. Fabio not able to get a crazy barnstorming End's Resolve. He just had to settle for the 1 energy on board, and it's now Giovanni who is going to be the one getting the momentum here. Also has himself a nice Cynthia here, so he's guaranteed the Ultra Creation GX attack. That's always one of the things that you want to get established ASAP, and now he's going to get a fresh 6 cards as well, looking towards getting some attackers down for the future turns so that he can Ultimate Ray onto them.
Right. How about that Blitzel that Fabio started off with? That's just one of the many techs that his deck kind of creates or has access to.
Yeah, it's well, they're both actually playing the Zebstrika in their list, so it's an anti-control tech card in many situations, just so that if you're up against Pidgeotto, you can always get your way out of a sort of handlock situation, which is fantastic for you. And at the same time, it can just help against reset stamps. So we're seeing a very aggressive and very, very strong turn from Giovanni. He's not settled with that Cynthia. He's actually been able to pitch all 6 of those cards that he's drawn into. Far away a great catcher to try and slow down Fabio, make him have extra outs to be able to get his own Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga into the active position. And now he's going to get an extra 6 from this Dead A change.
Right, Dead A change. Discarding no cards from hand in order to draw 6 new ones, so that's a great one.
It's a good deal.
It's about as good as it gets. And there we go, the first altered creation of the game, but definitely not the last, as Giovanni does pass the turn over to Fabio after attacking there with Altered Creation GX. From this point on, his attacks are going to be dealing 30 additional damage and will also provide him with an extra prize card whenever he gets a knockout.
Exactly.
Now, Fabio, with that Keldeo active, does he have a way to get it on the bench and kind of match Giovanni's play?
Yeah, I wasn't certain if he had the energies in hand. I think he has like possibly a Mallow and Lana, but he doesn't quite have the energies just yet. So he's going to go ahead and go for that Pokemon Communication, throw back one of those Keldeos into the deck, grab himself a Zebstrika, so possibly he can have access to a few more cards here, because it doesn't look like his hand is fully able to make it happen just yet from what I saw.
And do you Mallow and Lana at this point?
It really depends on what his hand's looking like. He's actually playing custom catchers in his list.
Wow.
That's interesting.
So double custom catcher. Always great when you have both.
Oh, he does have energy. Okay, so it's the switching card that we're missing here. We're going to see a sprint from Zebstrika.
So sprint to draw 4 cards. Is there a switch effect?
We're going to see the tackle, but we do know he's prized 2 Mallow and Lanas. This really might hurt him. He only plays 2 copies.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's kind of rare to see a 3rd copy.
So it might be that he has to Pokemon communication.
Of course, had no idea that he had both prized coffees. Right now, double checking his deck kind of. I think that the news is.
It's really rough.
Yeah.
News. Yeah. So he can grab a tag team Pokemon here. He's got Pokemon communication and he could Dede change, but he's just going to go for 2 Cynthia and Caitlyn's instead for draw.
Yeah.
He had the option to Dede change.
Of course, Fabio just unhappy with this news.
Oh wait, he doesn't even play the Dene GX in his list. He only has draw power from Jirachis and from Zebstrikers. That's incredible.
And after using Sprint, I think that means that going to be forced to just Cynthia and Caitlyn and hope for a switch.
Yep.
For a manual switch.
And I'm not sure if he plays that many switch cards. He plays just 2 switch.
Just 2
physical
switch.
copies.
So it looks like those are going to be the 2 cards we're going to be hoping for here if you're a fan of Fabio's. Now, 3 cards, access to 3 cards. We didn't get a good look at him.
No. That's very rough. You're the person to GX attack second, and you've not even done yours yet. So Giovanni is very far ahead, and he must have the sort of scoop that off the tag call there was no Malo and Lana. So that really does give you a good indication that you might be in the clear here, really.
Right. I mean, so first of all, that great catcher was huge.
Yes.
It felt like it was more of like, oh, okay, well, let's just put a little bit more pressure on him, and more importantly, discard it. Use this card because we're going to discard it anyway. And it wasn't the optimal use out of the great catcher. Of course, sometimes we prefer to try to get much more of an effect out of that great catcher. But in this particular case, it paid all the dividends in the world as the Keldeo was not able to retreat onto the bench. And now Giovanni able to potentially start putting even more pressure on Fabio here. If he does so, then this could be a very quick game 1 in what sometimes it turns out to be a very drawn-out matchup.
Absolutely. We're going to see Giovanni use his own Cynthia Caitlyn here. He's going to get the regular Cynthia back into his hand. I think he's already holding onto a switch. We're going to see the escape board onto the Jirachi. So his turn is looking pretty good right now. He's just going to keep the pressure on. If he can find himself a great catcher, once again, it would be absolutely monstrous. Oh, there's actually one already in his hand. So he can even bypass this Keldeo, get some damage in with Ultimate Ray onto Fabio's own Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga. And he's going to be barnstorming ahead.
However, this Stellar Wish is only going to find a Cynthia, so you're definitely not wrong. Giovanni is in the driver's seat, no doubt about it. But still, this game isn't quite out of Fabio's reach, at least not quite yet. Is there a switch in Giovanni's hand? I don't believe so.
Yeah, he switched out of the Dene, so he's got the... Oh, wow. So he's missing energy. Is energy the card he's missing here? Yeah, no energy's in his hand. That's the only thing preventing him from going for a great catcher Ultimate Ray attack. And it would have been incredible. So it looks like the Cynthia and Caitlyn missed energy cards to prevent the most crazy turn possible.
So there's a Cynthia here out of Fabio. Fabio still looking for that switch effect of his own to get that Keldeo out of that active spot. Now,
he's attaching hard off the Cynthia.
All the energy already attached onto this ADP. Now Arceus is raring to go. I mean, it really is just down to a switch effect here for Fabio to start putting the pressure on itself. Remember, Fabio is yet to use Altered Creation GX.
Right.
That's very important. That's a full turn behind.
Yeah, I think the game could have been beyond him if Giovanni did find that energy card on the previous turn.
Sure.
But now it's kind of like the whiff that he had last turn is kind of mitigated. If he could still get the GX attack in here, he could be in reasonable shape. And looks like there is some chatter going on at the table between the judges. I haven't seen anything out of hand so far. Everything looks pretty reasonable.
It seems like everything stopped when the Cynthia got played. So I'm not exactly sure why the Cynthia stopped action, but I guess we'll find out in just a few seconds. Yeah. And it could always just be, and I'm not sure if there is a language barrier here.
Right.
But because we're in international championships, it's not uncommon.
Sure.
We have players from all around the world playing against each other, and sometimes it's just a matter of clarifying that everybody's on the same page.
It may have even just been coin flips and Stellar Wish or something. I'm really not sure about this, but it doesn't look like a big deal.
So, just so you guys know, it looks like actually what ended up happening was one of the players made an illegal play. So right now we're just waiting for another judge to to kind of clarify the situation and, of course, issue any type of penalty if necessary. We have not received word on what the illegal play was quite yet, and of course, these are kind of easy to miss, especially when you're in the middle of a very intense game. You know, this is round 12 of the International Championships. This is as big an event as you get before the World Championships. So pressure's on everybody. You know,
it means a lot to these players.
Everybody's got a lot of built-in nerves coming in, especially into round 12 when you're at a 9-win equivalent, basically. At this point, you can taste the top 8, and you hate to see a mistake happen, but they do happen, and that's just the reality of trading card game competition. And more importantly, I think that's really what makes trading card games so great, is that people can sometimes make major misplays, major mistakes that's going to cost them the game. So if you have kind of like that those nerves of steel, so to speak,
it's a big thing.
Yeah, then they really end up mattering in situations like these.
Sometimes if you've been in those spots before, you can just be a bit more calm and collective, and you can gather your thoughts in any situation, no matter where you are, like what table you're sat at or what record you're on. If you're just able to clear that from your mind and just play Pokemon, that's a great deal. We've seen the game kick off again. The Cynthia has been resolved, and I haven't seen anything change in terms of the board state. So we'll try and get back to whether the judge has issued any warnings or anything like that. But right now, the game's carrying on.
Okay, so just so you guys know, what ended up happening was it looked like the judges believed that there wasn't sufficient shuffling. So because there wasn't sufficient shuffling, what ends up happening is the judges just get a third party, an alternate, somebody who isn't part of the match to kind of just ensure that there's enough randomization. No penalty was issued or anything like that. It was just more of a warning, and please, make sure that you randomize correctly and sufficiently.
And Fabio actually missed the switch again off of his Cynthia, so he was forced to pass once again.
Yeah, no kidding. Fabio just did not hit that switch. This could be the end of the game, right?
Wait, I actually can't see. I need to see the active. Well, there's no JX marker being flipped, and there's no prizes being taken. Oh, the Arceus Palkia Dialga must have been brought up by Giovanni, and now he's playing a Cynthia.
I believe what happened was we didn't get to see a great catcher.
Right.
Because that's exactly the play that I would make about Giovanni.
Yeah, it was in his hand last turn. That's where we're at right now. So Giovanni found himself an energy card, went for a great catcher, Cynthia's, and now he's got a Stellar Wish, which seems to not have ideal targets.
Joe, and if you're in Fabio's seat right now, do you just potentially scoop up your cards?
I mean, when 2 Mallow and Lana are prized, there's a much, much bigger incentive to just think, I'm in a really, really rough spot at this point. I'm very behind. I think as soon as you see a Zeb Striker come down on Giovanni's board, you think, I'm never actually going to be able to deny Giovanni a win condition. I can't go for like a reset stamp to make a big comeback play.
Sure.
And as long as Giovanni gets a Pokemon to attach onto with Ultimate Ray, I think Fabio's got to feel really, really behind.
Right, especially once Giovanni does start taking these prizes, it becomes much less likely that the prizes are going to be hindering Giovanni as well. That's kind of what the unknown that Fabio has right now. So because Fabio says, well, my Mallow and Lana are prized, what if yours are too? Then at that point, it becomes a fair game once again.
That's true.
But the more prizes Giovanni takes, the less likely that becomes, and then Fabio may just see the writing on the wall and call it a day there for game 1. But now we've seen the first 180 damage come out of Arceus Dialga and Palkia with that Ultimate Ray. Of course, that additional 30 damage because of Altered Creation GX added on to that 150. And we see Keldeo start to get powered up. So now Giovanni is firing on all cylinders. At this point, Giovanni is good to go for basically the remainder of the game. And Fabio still has yet to even use his GX attack.
Yeah, that's the biggest problem here. I think it's almost too late for the GX attack. I don't know if he'll ever be able to power up any other form of attacker from that point on. So I think he might just have to forego the GX attack altogether and just get some Ultimate Rays on the board this turn. He does play custom catchers, so he can go around a 6-prize route by picking up the Blitzel or the Jirachi at some point in the game.
Sure.
So that's something that he might be having to go for here, as we're seeing him go for a tag call, grabbing himself. It looked like a Cynthia and Caitlyn and the Lucario Melmetal tech that he plays.
What can Fabio do here to bring himself right back into this game with the Mallow and Lana's already prized?
Well, it starts off with powering up and backup attacker here, because you know that Giovanni is always going to be knocking out this Arceus Palkia and Dialga. It's going to be down to some nice reset stamps going your way. It's going to be down to
Opponent not finding Zebstrika.
opponent not finding the right targets, exactly. And you can save your GX attack for Resolute Blade now with Keldeo, so that could be a way that you could knock out a Dedenne in one hit. So that's something you could bear in mind as well. Great catches aren't too terrible here. Tag call's also decent.
All right, so we see this new hand here for Fabio. Does have
This is a Bill's Analysis being played right now.
Is it?
It's the only thing I can think of that's taking these cards here. Yeah, he plays one copy of Bill's Analysis in his deck, so he's gone ahead and picked up a Pokemon Communication and a Great Catcher. Definitely an interesting build from Fabio, something we really haven't seen much of before. Choosing to play no Dedenne GX is a big call.
It was expected for. I expected to see at least one Dedenne. Well, definitely one Dedenne,
Right.
I believe. But choosing to forego it for things like Cryogonal, Frostlass. Of course, we see the Lucario and Melmetal, and no doubt about it, Zebstrika as well. So there's just a lot of options here. But Dedenne is just such a powerful card, right? Like, it gets you out of so many awkward situations, and we've seen him kind of miss that card in this particular game.
For sure. And he has got the custom catchers now, so he can take his individual prize knockout on that Blitzel. And he's going to go for the Ultimate Ray here. And it looks like he's going to be powering up his Lucario and Melmetal. An alternative thing he could try and do is maybe use the Lucario and Melmetal GX attack to remove some energies as well.
Right?
That's all of his custom catchers gone.
Yeah.
So that's really rough. I feel like you probably could have held those custom catchers. Maybe he's expecting Reset Stamp, just because he's used like a bunch of tag calls, and Giovanni knows that there's lots of supporters in his hand or whatever.
Right.
But
you're not wrong, but at the same time, like at this point, that 6 prize game is kind of off the table.
Well, he still has Great Catcher, so he can Great Catcher up a Dedenne as well. So he's just getting these custom catchers in before the Reset Stamps come down.
Because I know he only plays something like 1.
It's in his hand from the Bill's Analysis just now. So that's his route. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to make this Lucario and Melmetal go long. I don't think we saw a Malolana come out of his prizes. It looks like it was just that escape board that he's just grabbed now. So he's still in a rough spot. He was really hoping that he could get some additional turns here, because Giovanni's game plan is basically going to be, I've got knockout here, and then I have to go through this Lucario and Melmetal at some point, or I need to have a way of getting through a Keldeo, which is only really with my own Keldeo. So it's still by no means out of Fabio's reach. I think going back to the point of the Dedenne GX, he's really tried to make the list so that when you're up against decks that have poor answers to Keldeo, you force the opponent to go through 2 of them, because that way, as you see here, Giovanni actually is grabbing his best Keldeo answer. If he can Ultimate Ray to this Drampa now, he's going to be in fantastic shape, because then you simply just need to knock out the Keldeo with this Drampa, and Fabio's just got rid of all of his custom catchers. If only he had held them, he could still have a good chance here.
And I think that's exactly what he's about to do. I think he's just about to Ultimate Ray onto this Drampa, and then, is that nearly checkmate at that point?
It feels really close. It feels very, very close for sure. Yeah, Fabio, if you'd used the Great Catcher first, you're weaker against Reset Stamp, so I can see why he's gone this route.
Right.
But he just wasn't aware that Giovanni was also playing his own tech cards for mirror matches, which is the Drampa.
Yeah, and it's definitely not a mistake to tech against the mirror here, as it's just such a power, not only a powerful deck, but it's also a very popular matchup.
For sure.
No doubt. Now, of course, Arceus and Palkia about to Ultimate Ray, about to get more energy on the field, because why not? And they go right onto that Drampa. That Drampa just so important against that Keldeo GX. Of course, Keldeo GX is incredibly powerful against GX Pokemon. But the moment that your opponent has a non-GX attacker that can threaten to one-hit KO you, that Keldeo just shrinks and almost wants to stay in the bench and never come back out.
Absolutely. So Giovanni, he actually got a Choice Helmet from his Stellar Wish and chose not to put it down. I feel like you always just put it down anywhere, because the only way you lose this game is that a Reset Stamp just kind of goes haywire and you have nothing to play. But he's in such a commanding position that I don't see many ways that Fabio can come back at this point. With the Drampa developed, you're all in on attacking with Lucario and Melmetal regardless, and it's going to take a few turns, and he has no access to healing cards either, so everything's against him at this moment.
Well, here's a Cynthia and Caitlin finding the Bill's Analysis, and then drawing 3 cards for Fabio.
There's the Reset Stamp.
There is that Reset Stamp, which is a huge card for him. Remember, there is still no Zebstrika in play. So Giovanni going to be potentially down to just 2 cards in hand and Jirachi in play.
Yep, it's got to be the only way you can mount that comeback. You got to power up that Lucario Melmetal. He's got a skateboard already developed in his hand, so he can go for a Stellar Wish. He can also go ahead and fire off that reset stamp and start attacking with this Lucario Melmetal. There's even the full Metal Wall GX attack available also if you want to just try and trap Giovanni, but I think you just got to start getting heavy impacts in play right now.
Well, Stellar Wish finding a very uneventful and unexciting card in Chaotic Swell.
When there's Chaotic Swell being played by both players, it just feels like extra overkill that they're totally useless.
No kidding.
I think he put it in his discard pile rather than his hand. We need to make sure that's altered for
you're
sure.
not wrong. And all we have to, so let me just request that actually, if we can get that Chaotic Swell from the discard pile into Fabio's hand, as he accidentally discarded it after finding it with Jirachi's Stellar Wish.
It's only really impactful in the fact that it can be a reset stamp card that he could draw later on. So he definitely wants to have that in his hand, because we'll try and get onto the judges about that one before the game gets too far gone here.
It's called maintaining a proper board state.
Exactly, indeed.
All right, so
we're seeing the reset stamp that Fabio's just done on Giovanni. Going to see he is actually going to go for that full Metal Wall GX. It removes all energy from the opponent's active Pokemon, and thanks to the plus effect. Oh, sorry, that is the plus effect.
Yeah,
and then
the plus
you also do, well, Giovanni's basically undone his own GX attack, so they're back to regular damage output now from both players.
Against, of course, against the Lucario and Melmetal.
So this Bill's Analysis should not be playable either, because he's already used a Cynthia Caitlyn to actually get the Bill's Analysis back. So we really need to slow down this game right now, because that's a second supporter being played this turn.
Well, is this not a new turn?
Oh, it was just a was a Choice Helmet pass?
Yeah, it was a Choice Helmet pass from Giovanni.
Okay.
Yeah, this because that, I mean,
Choice
Lucario
Helmet
Melmetal used its GX attack.
Okay, you're right.
Yeah.
Whew,
so it was rapid. A Choice Metal pass. Remember, the reset stamp brought Giovanni down to a 2-card hand.
Remember when I said he should have put the Choice Helmet on?
So we do still have to fix the Chaotic Swell, by the way. So if we can get that Chaotic Swell into Fabio's hand,
it's still repairable right now. There's been no shuffling going on.
It's still a repairable board state. You're absolutely right. There is no problem with just bringing that Chaotic Swell back into Fabio's hand. But then let's think about Giovanni here. Giovanni has put himself in a, well, not put himself, but Fabio has put Giovanni in a super uncomfortable situation where we have all the, all the energy in the world at the start of the turn here for Fabio. Or, at the start of Fabio's turn, Giovanni had 9 energy in play, a Lucario and Melmetal ready, or an Arceus and Dialga Palkia ready to go. And then Lucario and Melmetal just gets 3 energy out of the active Pokemon, and then the reset stamp gets Giovanni down to a 2-card hand. Giovanni forced to just play Choice Helmet and pass. Remember, we mentioned how Choice Helmet should have been played the previous turn to avoid him from drawing it from a potential reset stamp. And then, sure enough, go figure, the very next turn it immediately does come back and hurt him here. Now, Fabio still has a large hand, still has his Zebstrika, has access to Cynthia and whatnot. Maybe this play against that Blitzel ended up being very, very powerful for Fabio just a few turns ago.
And both players are playing Choice Helmets. They're both kind of like mirror-teched in a way, I guess. I think these Choice Helmets are trying to like reduce some damage output going on from other people, which is pretty interesting for sure. Fabio, he's going to be able to go for a tackle here. He's switched back into his Jirachi.
Did they ever fix the Chaotic Swell?
We haven't seen the Chaotic Swell.
Because now we've seen a
Cynthia. Yeah, I know. I feel like the game's just going right now, which is a real problem, I guess. But he's just going to tackle for no targets here. I think ultimately, outside of exactly more reset stamps that Fabio can draw, there's nothing that's impactful for him to draw, to be honest. So we're going to see like a Stellar Wish go on here. He's going to keep attacking with this Lucario and Melmetal. There's nothing else he can really attack with, outside of possibly slowly building up this Keldeo as well on his own end. But there's already a Drampa trying to protect against that. So, I mean, we're seeing Fabio pick up his Great Catcher. His plan is still sort of set. If he can get through this one Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga, he can then just go for some Great Catcher plays to try and close out that game. But he has no actual way to knock out the Dene GX in one hit. So it's going to be, again, a slow grind here if he's going to be able to close out the game.
Okay, now Giovanni's still looking at a very, a very small hand. That Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia has just kind of been stuck there. Almost a punching bag, so to speak, just waiting to
it's taken a lot. The choice helmet's
waiting
really
to finally
helped,
be knocked out.
Oh, wow, and he also picks up a Mallow and Lana. There's some breathing room for Fabio. He's right back in this game.
Yeah, he really just maneuvered this game very, very well to bring himself right back in. Giovanni finally has access to additional cards through that Stellar Wish.
Stellar Wish could still be game at any moment here. Great Catcher, of course, still wins Giovanni the game, so he's kind of just been lying in wait for this Palkia to take all these hits so he could actually just get some access to draw. He can still very easily just dramp and knock out Fabio's Keldeo GX.
This is really starting to look like a really interesting game. Remember, just a couple of turns ago, we were thinking that Fabio may have had to scoop up his cards, but because of that reset stamp, really just locking Giovanni out of any type of aggression, it's allowed Fabio to get right back in here. Remember that.
I didn't see Great Catcher, so the game's not just straight up over. We've seen Stellar Wish, we've seen the support of a turn, so Giovanni might just have to go in with his Keldeo here, get some damage on the board. I don't see much else he can do with his turn. He can, I mean, he could just put down a Jirachi and go for another Stellar Wish play.
But then you'd have to find a switch effect?
You would just Stellar Wish pass and just try and hope to play around, well, not get reset stamped again. But I'm not certain that that's the case. I think the judges are now stopping the game, which is fortunate because we haven't seen a reset stamp from Giovanni just yet. And I think they're grabbing the Chaotic Swell. So yeah, the Chaotic Swell would have been in the hand, but we've seen the Cynthia since, so it will have to be shuffled in randomly to the deck. That's the only real resolution I can think of.
Well, yeah, but because he could have potentially drawn the Chaotic Swell off the Cynthia.
That's true. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not going to infer.
Yeah.
I'm not a judge. The truth is that...
We'll have to see what's happening here.
Yeah, the truth is that because this happened multiple turns ago, we have no idea what can happen or, what ended up being resolved there.
That's also the incorrect damage because we've seen a GX attack from the Lucario Melmetal, so we'll have to get that checked as well. There's a few things going on the table here.
Is it? It's only against metal Pokemon, right?
Yeah, and of course Lucario Melmetal is one. So this should be fully healed now. There should only be... Yeah, the base damage output of the Keldeo is 110. Then the GX attack of Arceus Palkia Dialga is a plus 30. Then there's a minus 30 again for Lucario Melmetal, so it should be fully healed right now.
Right. Hey man, the nerves, they get to everyone.
Jeez.
Except you.
Well, maybe not. So we're seeing Fabio use that Mallow and Lana that he took out of the prize card. Such a big pickup for him. Really gives him a bit more space to maneuver here as he's basically trying to attack with the heal. He's bought himself an extra turn, but it feels like he's only got one Great Catcher available to him. So that means that he's going to have to try and do a Great Catcher play on Dedenne and hope that he can try and two-shot his way to victory, because I don't see another out. He's at one Gust remaining, so he just has to kind of... Well, he's going into another Jirachi now. Don't really know what he's digging for in too much. Maybe he has to try and reset stamp again alongside this. Yeah, this is actually a big deal. So he's going to try and reset stamp Giovanni down to 2. Great Catcher up to Dedenne. Hit it for 150 or 130 because of resistance. And try and hope that Giovanni can't find an energy card. That's the only thing he can do. Energy card or switching outs will lose Fabio the game, but I think that's all he can do here.
So we're looking for an energy card or a switching card if you're rooting for Giovanni here.
Correct, yeah. I think that's the only play he can make. He's just going to have to... Fabio's going to have to switch Great Catcher and try and two-shot a Dedenne. Alternatively, you could try and... Yeah, that's all you can do.
He doesn't have it.
That's all you can do.
He only has a 2-card hand, and I believe they might have even been 2 Pokemon or something along those lines.
Ooh, wow, this could be huge.
So now Fabio just does
what some discard piles again. So Fabio already has the switch.
Yeah.
He already has a Great Catcher in hand. There's nothing else he can do. He's going to go down to a 0-card hand, bring up Dedenne, and hope that Giovanni, off of the 2 cards and the draw for turn, doesn't give him an energy card. That's Fabio's only win condition at this point. There's no other way that we're seeing this.
That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
He could also sprint as well. There's sprint available to him. He'll go down to 0, sprint, and we should be fine.
Okay, so now...
We're getting a double, triple check on that Chaotic Swell. There's so many in...
So actually, they said that the Chaotic Swell was in his hand. I personally didn't see it, but of course...
I mean, they have a lot of copies of the card, and Fabio never has an option to put one into play, so I think there should
I know that he did discard one. So, right before that, he discarded one with...
Possibly.
I don't remember if it was a Catcher or it was a Cynthia for sure.
Right, it was possibly that.
So, I mean...
But there's also still 2 damage counters on the Lucario Melmetal that needs to go.
Okay, so right now, Fabio and Fabio is, if he goes for that play, is going to bring Dedenne up and bring himself to a 0-card hand, like you said. And as long as Giovanni has no way to retreat that Dedenne is kind of going to be a sitting duck right there. That Dedenne is going to be kind of a sitting duck, and that will allow Fabio to knock it out the following turn. But will Giovanni be able to draw that energy card or the switch effect to retreat? That's really what it comes down to, and that's if Fabio makes this play.
Yeah, we're just getting a few judge confirmations. This is for some previous stuff, like the damage counters that are currently on the Lucario and Melmetal, because we have both sort of outlined the turn that's going to be happening right now. They're still trying to resolve this Chaotic Swell effect, I think, from a few turns back, but it's also important about the damage.
Keldio's attack goes through effects, remember that?
Oh, okay.
Yes. Yeah, so it actually is 140.
Oh, you're right. Okay,
yes.
so it's the GX attack of Arceus Palkia Dialga working, and then the Lucario Melmetal's GX attack not working because of all effects.
Yep.
Wow, okay, that's so back and forth. Weird.
Yeah, Arceus Dialga Palkia's effect is on your own Pokemon.
Right.
And then, of course, Lucario Melmetal's effect is on your Pokemon, which is what Keldeo goes through. Of course, we were...
All right,
yeah,
there you go.
We got that cleared up. And
I think it should become wholly unimpactful, but we're just nitpicking anyways.
Right, it's just important to maintain board state.
For sure.
At this point. And as long as we do that, then we're A-okay. And I'm sure that they're about to catch that, and we'll move on. And really what it comes down to, and remember that this is honestly kind of irrelevant. Really, the truth is that the main story here in this game is... whether you are able to lock in that Dedenne or not. If you lock in that Dedenne, those are your final two prizes. That's kind of how you set it up like 4 turns ago. This is what you've been playing towards. And if you're able to achieve this lock, then that's it. Game's actually going to go to you if you're Fabio, and you just kind of you stole one that you probably should have never been able to win.
Exactly.
Given the beginning of the game. If Giovanni finds a way to get that Dedenne out of that active position and retreat, get that Drampa up for its final 2 prizes, and that's it. Giovanni's going to be able to win.
So Fabio's already shown why he's yet to drop a game all tournament. He's been fighting from behind this entire time. His prizes have been against him. He's had some horrible draws from Cynthia's. He's missed switches. He's not been able to use the GX attack of his choice, but he's been able to try and use that reset stamp to claw back a way to victory here. The odds aren't great because Giovanni has a lot of switching outs. He has his own Malolanas, he has tag calls, he has Cynthia's, he has physical switches. There's plenty of ways, and of course he has basic energy cards and even the skateboards. There's tons of outs of Giovanni. It's just whether or not he can do it off of such a low hand size that he's got to work with.
All right, so just to update you viewers, what's ending up happening right now is actually the judges are confirming on the Chaotic Swell situation, and it looks like Fabio's made this mistake before.
Right.
To where, he Stellar Wishes and immediately discards the card instead of adding it to his hand. So if that's the case, then of course, judges have to get involved and make sure that this type of play pattern stops. And that's really what has been holding the game up until this point. However, it looks like Fabio now is finally going ahead and making the plays. There's that switch. There's that great
allowed
catcher
to go to the discard.
Brings up that Dedenne. And now, we see a 0-card hand for Fabio, but
or
a
really
1-card hand for Fabio.
It's clever to bring up the choice helmet as well. It denies a skateboard as an out.
And 120 damage onto Dedenne. Is there a retreat card?
Oh, it's a Mallow and Lana.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, it was a Mallow and Lana, which is exactly what it needed. That's going to be enough to...
Oh, wow, and a Whirlpool Suction. There's nothing he can do. That's incredible. The tech card from Giovanni. Whirlpool Suction from Fion. You put it on the bench. It forces Fabio to move out the way. And that means every target on Fabio's board was in range of a Drampa knockout. 2 incredible pickups from that small reset stamp.
Gotta love Altered Creation. Altered Creation just kind of sets these plays up if you think about it. Fion just out of nowhere really just, yes, you're absolutely right. It was an incredible pickup off of that 2-card reset stamp, but geez, man, what a tech card.
Yeah, Whirlpool Suction not only good for the Pidgeotto control or the Clefairy Doll matchups, I think it's also phenomenal in spots like that. You saw it can sometimes be an extra, even if it isn't like the most powerful gusting effect, sometimes your opponent just has one last, usually it's a tag team, one last high hit point Pokemon that they're throwing all their eggs into that one basket, saying, please don't have the outs to knock out my active Pokemon, force them to have as much as possible, or force them to have that switching effect. And here, the Fion just comes up trumps.
What a game. What a game. Really, it came down to the wire. The last possible card here for Giovanni was exactly what he needed in order to seal this first game up, which seemed to be in his favor the entire time, really, up until that reset stamp, which just ruined everything that Giovanni had been planning and setting up for the last few turns. And not only was it the reset stamp, but it was also Lucario and Melmetal's GX attack. It was a combination of the two effects that just kind of disrupted everything that Giovanni had worked towards, and it almost allowed Fabio to steal one, really.
Yeah, he was almost able to unlock the door there out of being like way, way behind. So I'm really excited to see Fabio actually get to go first, which is fantastic. Obviously, you'd like to go ahead in this sort of matchup, be the first person to get that GX attack off, be the first one to get the ultimate ray off. So maybe this time where prizes are less brutal and opening hands and such are less brutal, maybe he'll be the one to have a better game here because everything was against him going into that first game.
All right, players are now setting up. Remember, that was a very long game one. Even though it seemed like it was going to be kind of a blowout, it really seemed like it was going to end within like 10 minutes, but it actually ended up extending quite a bit. We're not exactly sure if they ended up getting like a little bit of additional time thanks to all
I'm sure
this.
They will have.
Yeah, thanks to all these discussions, but we'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. Time is almost always going to be an issue in a good 3-game match between ADP mirrors. It's just, you don't get fast knockouts. That's just the reality of it.
Yeah, that back and forth with the Mallow and Lana and like reset stamp sometimes coming into the mix is definitely a big deal. Fabio and Giovanni both with their best attacker on board and their best starter as well in the active position. So both doing pretty good so far. Fabio gets to go first, of course. He's just picked up a tackle from his own Stellar Wish. He's got that turn attachment down onto his Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga. And we can confirm that the time is perfect right now. We've had all the extensions and whatnot, so we're at the right clock, which is fantastic. Fabio just going to send it Giovanni's way, and we're going to see straight away the card that just won Giovanni the last game is going to be that Whirlpool Suction. A little bit less impactful here, but still denying a Stellar Wish, which is pretty decent.
Fabio does pass his first turn after attaching that Metal Energy onto that Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia tag team, and now it's on Giovanni to start his own first turn. They kind of have mirrored boards up until the Dedenne, and that means some Stellar Wishing. That means a lot of consistency coming out of both players, and we see the Chaotic Swell come down from Giovanni, which we've already seen kind of lock stadiums out for both players in the past, as they just end up kind of having these cards just sit in their hands and make for very poor reset stamp draws in the future.
Absolutely. So, interestingly enough, Giovanni Dede changed away his Mallow and Lana. It's such a crucial tech card for the matchup.
Yeah.
But
of course, you have Cynthia and Caitlyn to bring it back and whatnot, but still, you want to have multiples of it, and as many of it in certain board states as you can.
Right. He might even just be using the Cynthia Caitlyn this turn to immediately get back the Mallow and Lana. I think it's an option that is available to him.
Now, Giovanni not done with his turn quite yet. Looks to be playing Cynthia and Caitlyn, discarding a Caitlyn. Or discarding a Cynthia, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, he did grab that Mallow and Lana straight back, so that's pretty good. He's got the one attachment, not much else going on, so he's just going to be passing into Fabio, who will most likely be the first person to get the GX attack off this game. There's already the Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga in the active, so all he needs to find himself is an energy card to be able to use that Altered Creation GX, the GX attack that's been warping the metagame this weekend.
Now, Fabio does get to start his own second turn of the match. Will we see his first Altered Creation GX of this match?
Well, Fabio doesn't have the energy in hand right now. It looks like he's going for Cynthia and Caitlyn draws to try and get him there. There's not much else going on for him. Obviously, in many other lists, you could Pokemon Communication for a Dedenne right now, but he can't.
Looks like
he's missed.
Well, no, yeah. So discards a custom catcher for a Cynthia Caitlyn. Draws 3, does not hit an energy. Hits a metal, but clearly not what you want to hit.
Oh, I don't believe it. I mean, we've said the reasons why he doesn't play Dedenne GX, and this is the reason why you should play it rather than why you shouldn't.
Played the Blitzel this turn, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure. So, he's just going to have to attach a Metal Energy and pass. That's a big break for Giovanni.
Unreal, yeah. really, Fabio just seems to be destined to never play use Creation GX, as he's now forced to pass the turn after attaching a Metal Energy. Does not want to discard the rest of his hand. Now, we have to wonder what his following turns are going to look like. Is he going to have a window to Altered Creation GX? If his opponent Altered Creation GX is on this turn, then I mean, will it just put too much pressure on Fabio? I'm not exactly sure. Really, what's going to happen is Giovanni was not expecting to be able to have this kind of a board state coming into his own turn.
I think the only real good news for Fabio is that, as we know, as we saw from Game 1, he doesn't have to use Altered Creation GX. With custom catches in your list, you can go the old-fashioned way of taking 6 prizes, so that's still available to him. So we might even be seeing Fabio, as we see Giovanni use his own Altered Creation, we might see Fabio just forego Altered Creation again this game and just try and get an Ultimate Ray down if possible.
Sure, it's not how he drew this matchup up.
Right.
We see a Pokemon Communication probably finding that Zebstrika.
For sure.
And
or a backup attacker if he already has access to energy cards off of the top deck.
Yeah, seems a little unlikely, but it definitely could have happened. And instead does have to find that Zebstrika. Unfortunately for him, the top of his deck has been unkind for these last 40 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much more push potential when you do play Dedenne GX, but it can be a win condition for opponents just because they are so fragile, easy prizes that can great catcher around Keldios, which are normally such annoying Pokemon, that Fabio has that option of making opponents go through an Arceus, Palkia, Dialga and 2 Keldios, which is always a lot of work. So I'm sure it's helped him get to this point at 8-0-3 in really good stead. But we've seen a few hands that could have been mitigated by just having that little bit of access to extra draw here. As we see, it's another Cynthia and Caitlyn.
There goes Chaotic Swell.
Oh, water the final
Finds
card.
the water
it's
energy
a huge
on
deal
the
as
final
well.
card, Joe.
He did not want to sprint away Mallow and Lana, so there's 2 in his hand again. So that's a big pickup. And a Pokemon Communication target, so we can even Ultimate Ray onto things.
Yeah,
really big Cynthia
Ultimate Ray
this time.
onto Keldeo, or in this particular case, it looks
Lucario
like it's going to be
Melmetal.
Lucario Melmetal.
Wow. So he's saying, yep, I'll just be using the other GX deck that I have in this deck available, I guess.
Do you prefer the Lucario Melmetal in this spot?
I think just because you've already said that you're not going to be using Ultimate Ray, Altered Creation,
right,
that you may as well keep the option open for yourself to Full Metal Wall at some point in the game.
Okay, and that means powering up the Lucario and Melmetal with Ultimate Ray here. So heavy impact, still a strong attack, of course. It's just you don't get the added benefit of that Keldeo's ability. You don't get that disruption effect.
Right.
You kind of just have to start playing around a Keldeo if you're Fabio instead.
And speaking of benefits, Giovanni's just got huge value out of his Choice Helmet tech. Fabio only able to do 120 damage into his Arceus and Dialga and Palkia, so a Mallow and Lana instantly heals this completely, undoing the full turn that Fabio just did, as long as Giovanni is able to find himself another attacker.
This is exactly where Mallow and Lana shines. There goes that 120 damage, down to no damage dealt from Fabio. That's the name of the game in this case.
It's a whole turn just evaporated in one supporter card. That's why you're seeing it be so influential. We've seen how powerful things like Acerola have been in the past, and now Mallow and Lana is the new age card that we have in format to do a very similar effect.
Yeah, we combine it with Jirachi, and you can just see how powerful an effect that is, right? Not only do you heal damage off, but you also get to look through the top 5 of your deck. Really?
Any card that makes Jirachi better is instantly very, very strong, especially when it's so searchable by
It's just unreal how strong this deck really is, and when it gets going. Now,
start seeing a stellar wish here.
Yeah, we've also seen when the deck starts stumbling, and like for example, like it has for Fabio, we've seen how it's got some very obvious and power and dangerous weaknesses, and unfortunately for Fabio, it's kind of he's been on the wrong side of the coin 2 times now.
Mm-hmm.
So now we see an Ultimate Ray out of Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. Remember, no damage on it, which means it's in no danger of getting knocked out. And we see a Keldeo start getting powered up. So we've seen 2 different strategies from both of these players, and we're seeing them all over again. 180 damage on Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia on Fabio's end. Now remember, this time around, he does have access to his own Mallow and Lanas. His Mallow and Lanas are not prized, and here's one of them. Mallow and Lana about to heal off 120 of this 180 damage. So It's not going to be all of it, but it's going to be quite a bit of it.
It's definitely helpful for sure. And we're going to see a Stellar Wish now from Jirachi. Fabio's only other card in hand is a Malo and Lana, so he may have been taking targets here just so he can discard for next turn. Tackle's actually a really good one.
Now, at this point, do you just use Lucario Melmetal's GX attack as your attack of choice for the turn?
It could easily be the choice here. I think we've seen already how he likes to make that an option. And I think if you just leave Giovanni with only a Keldeo, even though you don't have many great ways to attack around it, you can just try and like gust around it as much as possible and use your own Malo Lanas to heal.
I think one thing we can say for sure is Fabio has found ways to get himself back into into these two games that I don't think very many players would have found.
For sure.
I think that Blitzel knockout, despite us, kind of criticizing it for a second, ended up being really, really what paid off for him and almost brought him a big win. Of course, combined with that reset stamp to 2. Now, and of course, the Lucario Melmetal's GX attack also just playing a really big role in that near comeback victory. And there it is again. And just as he wrote it up,
the full Metal Wall GX. 3 energies, gotta go. And also undoing the hidden damage buff from Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga, unless, of course, it's against the Keldeo.
As we found out last game.
All right. Giovanni, he picked up that tag call last turn, so he could be using a Malo Lana for a switching effect if he really has to. He's also got Great Catcher and Dedenne as options in front of him. Looks like he's going to go for a gusting effect here.
That Great Catcher. And Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia with 60 damage already on it is going to be promoted. We're kind of caught back up, and now Giovanni looking for a couple of cards in his deck with Tag Call.
Yeah, I think he's grabbing backup Arceus, Palkia, Dialga here just to maybe discard it off this Malo and Lana. Oh no, you're just going to use the Malo Lana for just the primary effect, of course. So he's going for some deck thinning, I think, here.
You're not wrong. I think, he is going for Lana and Malo. Here's the other thing is, like, if you're... Yes, it's nice to be able to use it for that particular effect, but that's one less Malo and Lana that you're going to have access to.
Yeah.
So...
Fabio's forced it out of him from this Full Metal Wall. It was definitely a strong play.
Right. And, it's going to be really... The Malo and Lana becomes a lot more important when your opponent didn't Altered Creation GX.
Exactly.
Because now that healing off that damage really just kind of prevents prizes altogether. It doesn't delay the prizes, it just flat out prevents them.
You see the Stellar Wish now grabbing a Cynthia and Caitlyn. Going to be one of those cards that can help you recycle the Malo and Lana. It's such a vicious combo when you're up against archetypes that don't have one hit KO potential. Giovanni now able to retreat and go into his Keldeo and start firing off Sonic Edges for the full 140 as it does go through all effects. Yeah, so he's in pretty good shape. We know that Fabio now has a 3-card hand, and I believe Malo Lana is one of those 3, so he may just be trying to undo even more damage this turn and then try and sprint. Yep, that's what we're seeing.
There it is, Malo and Lana removing 120 of this damage and...
yeah, don't go into the Zeb Strike.
Yeah,
you got a free Jirachi there.
Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia. And, of course, Jirachi gets promoted. That nice little combo.
Can sprint now as well.
First you sprint before, of course, Stellar Wishing draws 4 new cards at no cost whatsoever.
Picks himself up a Water Energy, so he can start attacking with either now. He can go with his slightly damaged Arceus, Palkia, and Dialga, or he could start trying to power up the Lucario Melmetal that already has 3 energies attached.
How many times do you see Ditto Prism Star in an Arceus and Dialga deck?
Well, I mean, when you're playing the Zeb Striker, it's phenomenal. But yeah, I mean, normally you would just see the Blitzel. It's the fact that he plays that, the Frostlass, which is a groovy tech for sure. I'm sure he was expecting some fire archetypes, maybe some greens-based Charizard or
and as we saw in the start of the day, that actually it might end up really paying dividends for him later on in this tournament. Now, Fabio Stellar Wishing.
Custom Catcher is an interesting one. It's his 2nd copy of Custom Catcher. So,
not sure if you play it. Well, yeah, you do play it this turn, I think.
You can't hit through this Keldeo, so you got to try and steal some tempo back. Maybe bringing back up the Arceus, Palkia. Oh, he's going for the Jirachi. So of course, yeah, because he's gone the old-fashioned 6-prize route. He's got to take off non-GX now, so he can use the Great Catcher on Dedenne later. So this makes perfect sense. He's trying to attack Giovanni's draw engine at the same time, similar to how he did last game with that Blitzel, and he's able to get an Ultimate Ray in and power up his Keldeo. So he is in decent shape, for sure.
With 7 minutes remaining on the clock, a little over, He does take his first prize of the game, does Fabio. So now Fabio down to 5 prizes remaining against Giovanni, still 6. And at this point, I'm a little bit worried for Fabio's game plan because of the fact that he was never able to Altered Creation GX. So it's going to be slow, and it may not be able to work out in the amount of time he has allowed. And Giovanni, on the other hand, really kind of going to rely on this Keldeo to put up a brick wall against Fabio and just force Fabio into drawing the right sequence of cards while still, not letting his Pokemon get knocked out. It's going to be an interesting game they're going to be playing right now.
Yeah, you've just seen he's grabbed back himself and Mallow and Lana. He's also just forcing Fabio to find more and more switching effects. There's already 3 custom catchers in the discard pile. That means there's only 1 great catcher that can move this Keldeo out of the way. Fortunately, Fabio did power up his own Keldeo last turn, so they can start Sonic Edging each other. So that's probably going to be what we're seeing.
Last turn, right?
It was 80.
80 before?
So it won't be a knockout.
Be
It'll be 260, right?
220, right?
Oh, you're right. Yeah. Sorry, I was doing the ADP math.
Yeah. So
we're looking good. That's 220.
Yep. All right, here we go. 220.
Okay, so Fabio's got himself Switch in hand already, so he can start, get back into his Jirachi, get Stellar Wishing again, and eye up the Sonic Edge at the very least. And if he's able to find, that other great catcher, it might be something that he looks for. Usually that's going to be what you're going to try and finish on. Maybe try and trap the Dedenne once again.
Sprint first, just like before. Sprint brings him 4 new cards into his hand. Then he's going to be able to Stellar Wish before choosing what to do further from this. Now, at some point, you probably have to go through the Keldeo. You want to try to avoid it, but sometimes it's going to be unavoidable, especially when you have such a small hand.
And he's just seen Giovanni put a Mallow and Lana back into his hand, so although it's good to force it out of Giovanni, it feels really bad when you're just like, I'm going to put my damage on, okay, I'm going to take it straight off.
Right.
So it does feel a little bit awkward.
So, is Fabio going to find a game plan that's going to allow him to win within these 5 minutes that he has left?
I think it's rough. I think maybe in an extended game, he certainly has ways to win the game. But as you say, time's kind of against him in this sort of regard. So it might be a little bit awkward. I think
the one thing going for him is that he's already seen these Mallow and Lanas hit the discard pile for Giovanni.
Yeah, that's for sure.
There is no infinite number of Mallow and Lanas. He eventually does stop, playing against them. However, he does not stop playing against Keldeo. Keldeo is going to be there for the foreseeable future, and that's just not where you want to be.
Is he going to be going for a Frostlass attack here to get through the Keldeo?
Well, what will Frostlass do in this situation?
It's going to put a bunch of damage on at least. It's a non-GX attacker.
Yeah, I mean, it is a relevant attacker. You're not wrong.
It doesn't one-hit KO. He's just kind of getting it set up. You put damage count on yourself, and you do 20 times the amount of damage that you put on yourself for 1 water energy. Alternatively, he could try and send Giovanni's Keldeo to sleep, but I don't think that's what we're looking for.
If only he had used Altered Creation GX, right? Well, that doesn't even work, right? Because it puts damage counters?
No, it's 20 damage times
20
the amount
times?
of counters that you put on yourself, yeah.
All right, so instead we have 110 damage from the Keldeo and choosing to go that route.
Yeah, I feel like it's all you have to do. You just got to wait until they're out of Mallow and Lana's. It's still the best shot you got right now.
Right, and there's that Mallow and Lana. There's the Stellar Wish. It's a sequence that we've gotten accustomed to now.
Great catch is looking pretty good
see
here.
All of that damage just get taken away. And is that going to be the final Mallow and Lana that we can expect out of Giovanni for the time being?
Yeah, it depends how many more Cynthia and Caitlyn are remaining in his deck. His deck's actually looking pretty thin. He's done a couple Dead changes this game, and he's done a good amount of Stellar Wishing and whatnot. He's thinned most of the energies out of his deck, so I think there's not many resources left for him, as we're going to see Giovanni come straight back with his own Sonic Edge.
And this one deals a little bit more damage thanks to the Altered Creation. So this one's dealing 140. Do we have a Mallow and Lana out of Fabio? Doesn't seem like it.
Yeah, it would have to be a sprint if you wanted to have something better than a Cynthia available to him.
At this point, I don't even think you mind giving up the prizes. think,
And you don't mind
especially
getting rid of any
because
of your energies though either. The sprint's not actually that painful here, I don't think. Like maybe you could
That's
attach
true.
the unit energy to Zeb Striker just to have Headbutt available.
really, I think the most important factor is time. So
Yeah.
whatever play I make, I would just make as soon as possible. And
Even if it's not right, as long as it's fast, it's more correct than
yes,
like the best decision.
Exactly. As long as you're not making a misplay that's just going to cost you the game,
Right.
then I would just rather make that play and in my turn as fast as I possibly can, and try to come up with a better game plan while my opponent's playing at his turn, and hope for the best, because I still need 5 prizes, and I know that the time's running out. I don't know how much time's left if I'm in Fabio's seat, but I do know that it's very little, and we're talking about, a few minutes at most.
It's fine margins right now. We do also see a skateboard pickup, so that attachment means that he can still attack with his Keldeo when he wants to, but it also means he can come in with his Frostlass now.
Yeah, choosing to use the Frostlass, hoping to maybe use the Mallow and Lana on the following turn, I believe.
It might even be an Icy Wind, you know. Yeah, he's going for the Icy Wind attack. He's going for 40 and Sleep. He's hoping that Giovanni's gone through... It's not Confusion, it's Sleep. It's hoping he's gone through enough
right
Mallow and Lanas. Oh, and he does stay asleep.
Yeah,
this could be
stays
huge.
asleep. Although it looks to be paralyzed.
He just ripped a switch off the top.
Oh, the switch. Finds him, a perfectly timed switch there. Finds the Jirachi on the bench and promotes it to the active position. Now a Stellar Wish finds a Cynthia and Caitlyn.
It's a really good pickup again.
Yeah, that finds another Mallow and Lana. So at this point, Fabio had his heart has to be sinking all the way down to his stomach.
It's really weird. Giovanni is at 6 prizes and still Fabio feels like super behind right now. It's quite bizarre.
Yeah,
Gonna see the Cynthia Caitlyn get back Mallow Lanas, no doubt. Draw 3 more cards. Giovanni also has the option for Whirlpool Suction again this turn if he wants to. He has drawn back into his Fione.
No need at this point, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, also taking the 2 prizes is still solid here.
Right. So there's. Do you promote
I like going back into
Keldeo?
Keldeo. Yeah, I mean, you're still staring down like opposing Sonic Edge as Fabio's only real way to damage. So you can tank that even with the 40.
Okay,
Fabio
so
was
that's
hoping
the first knockout from Giovanni here.
Yeah.
Takes 2 prizes thanks to Ultra Creation GX taking an additional prize there. So Fabio down to about single-digit seconds left at the start of his turn.
Yeah, as soon as we get time on confirmation, it sounds like the judges just announced time on the round. Fabio then extends the hand saying, I don't have enough turns to win this game. It's going to be a 1-0 victory for Giovanni here in an Arceus Palkia and Dialga mirror match.
Congratulations to Giovanni there as Fabio extends the hand and says congratulations himself. Very good sport there. Knew that there was very little he could do once time was called, and I'm sure that he knew that time was running very, very low.
Yep.
At that point, it was just, please don't have the Mallow and Lanas. Please don't have ways to switch out of this, and just always had it. Did Giovanni, and the truth is that it's not that uncommon for you to have it.
Right.
You build your deck with that in mind. You build your deck because you want to have